I want to welcome you all back to the Body Love series. This is something we started earlier this year, but within this group, the intention of this group, the deep meaning behind this group is that we've got to transform our own definition of wellness and how we treat ourselves from a whole person perspective. And that's what I want this group to be for every person in it who's ready to make a change in their life and who's ready to just live with a lot more joy and release the ish that doesn't serve them. Part of that is realizing that wellness is so far beyond having a beach body or a bikini bod or fitting into the dress. Those things can bring us joy when we feel completely at home in our bodies. That's a feeling that I think so many of us crave, and it's a hard place. It feels like it's so far away and it's a hard thing to get to. But if we can both transform our own beliefs about wellness and transform the way that we treat ourselves on our own wellness journey, not only does it become easier to hit the goals that you have for yourself, but it also becomes a place where we're able to step away from the hustle and the hard work and the kind of gritting our way through life and step into a place of flow and joy and true compassion and love. So what does that all mean, right? And what is this Body Love series? The Body Love series is a way to deprogram ourselves from the personal beliefs we have about how we should look and how terrible our body is, to deprogram the body image BS that we've perhaps been raised with or kind of has been ingrained in us without us noticing. And a step into that is realizing, the cultural, the cultural underlayers, underbellies that influence the way that we think. And part of that is the fitness and diet industry. And I'm on a mission to shift how we think about ourselves, because it is my belief in my own experience, personally with my wellness journey, which I can share more with you, and in my experience working with hundreds of women over the past 15 years, that you've got to believe that you are worthy of change before any change will ever stick. So what we're going to talk about specifically today are the three key differences between people who feel like they just can't stop the struggle to shed the weight, the struggle to shed the baggage that comes with the weight and comes with living in a body that you hate. And what the difference between that group of people, or that kind of mindset, that frame of being, which I was in for over a decade, far over a decade, if I think about it, and to feeling at home in your own skin with a deeper sense of joy. So how do you get from here to there, right? What are three key steps, three differences between those places so we can bridge that gap? So whether you respond, I would love to hear from you, whether you're watching the recording or you're watching with me live right now. In the comments below, which side that you feel that you're on right now. If you feel like you're kind of in that struggle state, or you feel like you're in that I'm at home in my own skin state. And I'll share with you that I say for a decade because it's, probably since I was like 14 or 15 through my mid-20s, I always felt like I had at least 5 pounds to lose, maybe 10, sometimes 30. I yo-yoed incredibly, and I've shared this in this group before, but because there are so many new folks in here, I'll share with you that one of the most embarrassing, kind of guilt-ridden things that I had going on in my head and my heart was that I was a fitness professional. So from the time I was 18, I danced when I was in high school and I was an athlete, and I really missed that aspect when I got to college. So I became a step aerobics instructor, and that evolved to all kinds of group fitness, which I loved. And I became a personal trainer, a yoga instructor, and my career really evolved. But I was always, most of the time, just a little bit more puffy than I wanted to be. And that felt so embarrassing to me because I had all the tools, right? Like I knew how to eat. I definitely knew how to work out. I knew the frequency at which I should work out. I programmed other people. I could tell other people what to do and train them. But I couldn't get my own shit in order. I couldn't get myself into gear. We could say, so from the age of 18 through the age of 28. So hard. And what I've realized from working with so many different women, such a range of women and men, is that the major difference between people who continue to struggle, whether they lose weight and then gain it back, or whether they just can't get to that point where they're losing weight, or whether they've lost weight and they're still not happy and they're over-exercisers and under-eaters and counting calories or containers or points because they're so afraid of going back. The difference between those people and the people who have lasting shifts, that it just seems like a light bulb went on and something shifted, is their belief. So even when two people, what I noticed, I was a Beachbody coach for 3 years, and I retired from that for a number of reasons, which I'll share with you another time. But one big reason was I noticed this pattern that people could be on the same workout program, the same meal plan, which were impactful when they were doing it, but then our challenge group would stop. Some people would continue to keep going, some people wouldn't, and that didn't matter as much as what they believed about themselves. So the people who followed the program, who ate just the right things, and then on the day, let's say we were doing a 21-day challenge, on day 22, they went back to their old ways, or they thought, I've been working so hard, I've been restricting so much, I'm going to eat whatever I want. They swung back to where they were before. However, there were these people that I've gotten to interview since, which have been so fascinating, who their weight stayed, their way of life stayed. They maintained their way of life, whether or not they were doing a Beachbody workout, whether or not they were following a particular meal plan, because it wasn't just their belief about what to eat and how to eat and when to eat and how to move, how to incorporate movement into your life, which are all important things, but it was their belief about themselves and what deserved their attention. So one of the key layers, one of the key differences, one of the key steps to bridge the gap between the struggle and living in a body you love with absolute joy is that belief that you are worthy of change and you are worthy of compassion. And what is interesting about compassion is, by definition, compassion means that you recognize the suffering in others and you want it to change. So if we turn that on ourselves, self-compassion means that we recognize suffering in ourselves and we want it to change. So what I see in so many of the women that I've worked with and so many of my clients is that the people who don't change, aren't quite ready to change, and where we have to really work hard to get beyond that belief system, is they're not ready to recognize what hasn't been working, and they're not ready to recognize their struggle. So, for example, I talked to somebody last week, a wonderful, wonderful person, who had shared that she could get on this kind of a good eating regime, could eat in the way that her body, she knew what her body needed, which is a great intuitive step to nourishing yourself. And then every 3 weeks or so, 2 weeks or so, she'd get into this kind of bender where she just would feel unmotivated. She'd eat all the things that she told herself she shouldn't have. And then the weight of that guilt would weigh on her for not just a few days, but a week or 2 or 3, and then she'd get back into the cycle. And when I asked her how long this had been going on and she thought about it, she started saying, maybe a couple months, and then she realized it had been 5 years. 5 years, at least. 5 years of going through this kind of monthly, bi-monthly cycle. So what I see, and tell me if you've kind of fallen into this trap, is getting really motivated. Like maybe you have a reunion coming up, or a summer vacation, or New Year's resolutions, and we think we can do this. We get really excited and we think we can make this change. We can follow this workout program. We'll hire this coach or this personal trainer or follow this nutrition program. And then life happens. We have a little hiccup, or we get 7 to 10 days in and we kind of get bored, or we miss our favorite treat, or we're exhausted from the new workouts we've been doing. And then our excitement starts to dwindle. What I have seen in the select group of women that I've been working with over the past couple months is that when you are able to first address the belief system you have about whether or not you deserve to lose weight, or what it means when you begin to lose weight, if you feel unsafe, or you feel more seen, or you feel there are these underlying layers of fear when we start to shed our layers of weight. And I remember I lived in Chicago for a while in my 20s, and I remember I went to so many cleanses and detoxes. It was outrageous. I have a lot of experience in that area, we could say. And I remember often when I'd kind of get past what I thought was my stuck point, which is a myth, when I'd get past my stuck point and start to shed the weight, I felt seen, like I felt exposed. And I didn't have the awareness at that time or the language to describe it. But I would always self-sabotage in really sideways ways. Like I would be teaching a lot of classes, fitness classes, and I would think, I need some more energy. So I'd get something with just a little bit of sugar before a class, because I'd tell myself that in order to get through the class, I needed more energy because I didn't have as much energy on my body. Like really, our minds can be so tricky. So in order to shift your belief system, you've got to talk to somebody. You've got to talk to somebody who gets it and who understands that weight loss is not just a math equation. It is not just calories in, calories out. If it were, all of us are smart enough to do the math and to be at the weight that we want. If it were just math, things like hormones would not matter for women, right? If it were just math, it would be, well, I will say it would be so much easier, but it's so much more than that. It's about how we feel about ourselves. It's about our relationship with food. It's our relationship with movement, but more importantly, what we really cling to about what it means to be thin or fit or be at that goal that we want to be at. Because what I see in a lot of people too, and in a lot of the women that I talk about money within a business atmosphere, is that sometimes we have a fear of success. Marianne Williamson said, our greatest fear is not that we will be success, or is not that we will fail, it's that we will be successful. And what does that mean when we hit that point? So you've got to talk with somebody who is able to uncover those layers of fear and set you up with a process, a customized mindset ritual, which is what I do when I work with my clients. We create a customized mindset ritual that isn't just woo-woo. It's like real practical visualization that works and gets you into a state of being and gratitude and presence, which all of us need more of anyway, whether we're trying to lose weight or not, and can allow you to become the person that you want to be, mind, body, and heart, because you are finally looking your fear in the face. So that's step one. That's the key difference. It's a subtle, from the outside, it's a subtle shift, but it is, I would say it's the most important shift in the women that I work with who find success, who are so happy with their bodies and the way that they're living, and they tell me that they finally feel at home in their own skin and they don't feel like food owns them anymore. They don't feel like they're food zombies just shoveling food in whenever they get stressed out, even though they know exactly what to eat. They don't hate exercise anymore because they feel this sense of power. It's because they have taken on these mindset shifts and these mindset rituals, and they have changed their belief system. They have changed their mental energy and their heart energy around weight. And that's the first step and the most important step in keeping weight off, if that's your goal. If your goal is to lose weight, or if your goal is to just shift your body image, that's shifting your belief, having actual self-compassion by being able to see what hasn't been working for you, the systems that you need to let go of that no longer serve you, and being able to move forward because you know that you are worthy of it. You've got to you've got to talk to somebody, whether it's a therapist or a coach or an energy healer, just somebody who understands that your goals are about so much more than what to eat and when to eat and how to eat or what workout to do. It's about your belief system, so that when you're doing those things, when you're making those practical, visceral shifts, you have a reason behind it. And you're not just doing this because you're following this thing hoping to lose the weight, because then what happens? Wouldn't the worst thing be, I always felt like the worst thing would be to lose the weight and then to not know how to stay there, or to have to keep counting the calories or the containers or the points or doing 2-day workouts in order to stay there, right? Like what we want, I think what most of our beings want is peace. We want to love the bodies we're in and feel like it's an end of day, rather than this gripping and this struggle to be fitter, to be thinner, to be more. Part of this is just learning to believe that you are enough as you work to grow into a more and more vital, beautiful spirit, if that makes sense. The key difference between the struggle and feeling at home in your own skin, the second key difference is that people who truly love the bodies they live in and love the lives they live, they understand with clarity. They have clarity about what they will invest in. And I'm not just talking money, although that's part of it. It's time and energy. I hear so many women talk about how they are stressed out, and I get it. I mean, I have a 2.5-year-old. I have more going on than I let on. And I understand the stress. I understand the desire at the end of the day to just like melt into my couch and watch Netflix and like, who cares what I'm eating or drinking? Like I feel that desire at the end of the day to just, because we feel, women especially, we carry so much on our shoulders, and a lot of it's invisible, a lot of it's other people's stuff, a lot of it's other people's emotion that we absorb because we're great listeners, we're great at taking care of other people, but when it comes to ourselves, it's just like, get the F away, all the responsibilities, I just want to be free. However, watching Netflix, getting absorbed in somebody else's pretend life, eating whatever you want, but numbing yourself from your emotions, that is not freedom. That is not freedom. That is making yourself more trapped by adding on this heaviness and this inertia and these layers that are going to make it harder and harder to build momentum and to build the life, the vibrancy that you want to live. So step number 2, or the key difference number 2, is getting clear on what you want to invest your time in. The next time, and this might be a little too, you might feel this is harsh, you might feel like this hits home like a knife in the heart, because, and I'm only saying that because that's how I feel when people mention this to me, but the next time you hear yourself saying, I don't have time, and then you wonder where the time went when you've been scrolling Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest or emails or whatever it is, and 20 minutes have passed. Those 20 minutes could have been anything for you, could have been any act of self-compassion, including laying on the ground with your legs up the wall, just breathing, including a bubble bath, including a solid workout, including preparing a colorful meal for yourself or taking a walk with a person you love, connecting with your partner, a phone call to your mother. It could have been anything else other than looking at someone else's life. So when I talk about investing yourself, one thing that I would love for you to look at is to step away from the ways, start to notice the ways that you numb yourself. And it's easy to talk about that through food, not easy, but that's more of an obvious one. But another way that we do it is through media, through news, television, Facebook, or through I hesitate to say this because I love working out and I feel like it's such an outlet, but sometimes because we recently joined a YMCA for a great number of reasons, numbing ourselves can sometimes be not being present with where we are. So I used to watch so much TV. The Stair Stepper is like my go-to machine. I freaking love that machine. But I noticed that when I do that, I have like more knee pain afterwards, or I don't work quite, I'm not as connected to my body. So looking at the small ways that you numb yourself can be a really powerful way to rediscover how you can invest in yourself. Because if you're not willing, I'll put it out there, if you're not willing to invest any time, any money, or any energy in yourself, that's going to come back and bite you and your family later on when your health has just plummeted. You know, I think a big argument against women feeling like they just can't make time for themselves, won't make time for themselves because they have to take care of everybody else. The truth is, ladies, we will become burdens on the people that we love if we do not take care of ourselves, because our health will just crumble. And we are better people. We are better people when we can pour from a full cup. So learning how you can invest in yourself and just maybe doing some journaling, getting some clarity around that. And finally, the third step, the third key difference between the people who constantly struggle with weight, are constantly up and down, are constantly frustrated and dieting and undieting and trying to figure out how to fit into the jeans that have been sitting in the closet for years and they're determined to get into, but it's always a tight-fisted struggle, versus those who seem to be just like naturally fit or easily thin, and they order, seems like whatever they want at restaurants. They seem to work out when they want to, but it's not something that's cycling through their minds. I swear, when I was in my 10 plus year yo-yo train, I always wondered, I never thought I'd be a person who didn't think about food all the time, or didn't think about calculate, the calories I was expending during bike rides and commutes and workouts and when I was teaching versus the calories I was putting in my mouth. I never thought that I would release that, and I have. And that's why it's my passion to teach people how to release their weight by releasing these subconscious beliefs and all the BS that we tell ourselves and that the diet and fitness industry tell ourselves about what we need to do or how we need to look. When we're able to release those things, the weight naturally comes off. So step 3 is to stop the hustle, to stop the tight grip. And it can be, I say this in my yoga class all the time, it can be just as simple as asking yourself, what do I need right now? So often we're so busy and we're in this tight spinning and we're kind of afraid to let go and breathe. But what I teach my clients is how to breathe again in their lives, how to kind of relax into that openness, and almost surrender is an interesting word, but to surrender to the process. Because whenever you're tightly wound around something, think about the holidays. Like we start to turn up so much, especially as we become adults and have to buy gifts for all these people and prepare all these meals and go to all these gatherings. When the holidays are over, it's so funny that that New Year's is right after that, because we have all these ambitions, but we're freaking exhausted. When you live your life like this, or when you approach dieting and weight loss like this, there will be a time where you have no choice. Your body will give you no choice but to fall over and collapse, whether it's an injury or adrenal fatigue or just unexplained irritation or PMS. So if you can step into and find a way to step into a flow, to kill that, to deprogram yourself, let me say, from that hustle mindset or the go hard, go home mindset, because that's what happens. You go hard and then you've got to go home and crash. Stepping into a space of flow, a journey of flow where you're able to really appreciate the life that you've been living, because the whole thing is, if you're working out for 21 days or 30 days or 60 days, whatever it is, if you hire a trainer for that amount of time or sign up for a workout that lasts X amount of days, or a meal plan like a Whole30 that ends on day 30, what happens after that? That's what I want to know. What has happened in your past when something like that has ended? How did your body respond? How did you feel? Where did your weight go or your goals go? Did you go up and down? Because if you're saying yes, if you're like, oh yeah, that's happened to me. I used to do, when I did my cleanses in my 30s, or 20s in Chicago, what would happen is I would do this cleanse, feel really great. The day after the cleanse, I would go out and drink and eat with my friends and feel awful, like so sick afterwards. And I didn't get that was the pattern, or at least I didn't stop myself. I didn't step out of it because I didn't have compassion for myself. Somewhere deep down, I thought, you're not worthy of the change yet. So if you can, kind of take a breath with me and imagine yourself, we could say in the best shape of your life, in the best life that you've been living, in this space where you feel free and whole and beautiful in your own body. Like you catch your reflection and you smile. You don't go right to that problem area, your arms or your butt or your belly. You smile and you're proud of what you look like. And you imagine the bridge that it took to get you there. What I want you to realize is that the bridge, the method, does not end once you are there. The bridge is you being there. What I mean by that is what I teach people, my methodology, is to begin as if you are that person. And you might not love the person you see in the mirror right now, but if you can learn to love something about her, if you can look at her and say, you've got beautiful eyes, or hair, or, you've got strong legs, strong ass legs. If you can love something about her, only love will grow from there. And your belief will start to, your sense of gratitude for who you are and the strength that you have and the vulnerability that you've shown by investing in yourself, that will continue to grow. And that is the bridge, that is what will get you to that place where all the time you feel at home in your body and you feel like you live with a sense of joy. But then that's your life. That's the best part, is it's not this 21-day fix. It's this life that you're living, because you have taken the steps to invest in yourself, to believe that you are worthy, and to stop that hustle mindset and that hustle methodology so that your life flows. And I know this sounds too good to be true or too easy, but I've seen so many women go through this process, and it is just, the transformation is incredible. So if you still feel like there are gaps, you still feel like that couldn't work for me, or that would be too hard for me, or my life is too busy, what I want you to think about is, why is it so scary to change? And something to reflect upon is what the layers of weight have done for us, and how they perhaps have kept you feeling safe. If weight loss is something that you've been trying to do, or you've been yo-yoing up and down, know that it's probably served you in some way, and that might be that the heaviness feels safe, or it has kept a certain inertia, so that momentum has been hard to build, which is frustrating, but it's also predictable. It's kind of kept you in this safe pattern. So if you are ready to break free of that pattern, if you are ready to break free of all the layers of guilt and shame, at least that's what I felt, in this cycle of feeling guilty and kind of ashamed of how you look and puffy, and then you try something new and you restrict your food and you really feel like you're eating well and working out, and then you get exhausted, and then you indulge, and then you feel guilty again in this cycle. If you're ready to break free of all of that, if you're done with the yo-yo dieting, if you want to be done with the struggle so badly, and you're done hiding from yourself, what I want to invite you to do is talk to me. I've been talking to women, just, like two humans talking over the phone over the last month. And I haven't shared this within this group because I've actually been talking to women who own businesses and feel like their weight has been stopping them from moving forward with their business, which has been fascinating in its own way. But what I want to do is, within this group, to start to offer just one-on-one calls. They usually take somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour, and we just talk about where you've been and where you want to be, kind of that bridging the gap between the two. And then what you and I do together is we create a clear step-by-step plan of how to get from the struggle to the freedom. or how to get from that level of frustration or puffiness or the yo-yoing to where you want to be, to the peace, to the joy, to the vibrancy, to the strength where you want to be. So if you feel like you need that clarity, or you need just some sort of customized plan that isn't just an eat this, not that, because if you want that, I'm not your girl. I will tell you the optimal foods to eat, but I will tell you it's so much more than that. We've got to start with releasing the deep rooted beliefs that have kept you stuck. So if you want to start to talk about compassionate weight loss, which is permanent weight loss, and you want to start releasing the stuff, kind of looking at the hard stuff, to getting into your fear so you can break free to the other side. And the other side, I've got to tell you, I've been living here for 6 years, through a pregnancy, through a sleepless year. I never thought that losing the weight after the baby would be so, I hesitate to say this again because I know it's not for all women, but it was so easy for me. And I look back and I keep asking myself why, because I was so fucking tired. I mean, like, I slept 2 to 4 hour increments for 8 months. I got so sick, strep throat and stuff, but the weight came off, and it's because I just believed it would. And in believing that it would, I took certain actions, but the actions weren't they weren't hard for me because I wasn't struggling against them. So what I want to help you do is to stop struggling against yourself and to recognize the fear that you have or the walls that you put up so you can release that. So if you'd like to schedule a time to talk with me, I would just love that. I would love to speak with you. I would love to speak with this community of women who are already interested in transforming their view of wellness. Just comment below or send me a message, or later on today, I'll just put my scheduler right into the comments below. And all you have to do is schedule a time with me, and then I ask you some questions so that our time together can be really robust and we can use the most of our time together, because goodness we know time is precious. So I would love to hear your takeaways from today. Know that every Friday, perhaps at slightly different times, we will have our Body Love series, and we will continue to talk about compassion versus self-hatred and self-criticism. And we will talk about practical ways to lose weight, but that are beyond what the fitness industry in and of itself would tell you. So if you have any requests for the upcoming weeks, let me know so that I can weave those into what I already have planned. And please, if you would love to talk, I would love to help you, because I've seen the results in these women over the past couple months, and it moves me to tears, because I knew it was possible for myself, and to be able to see it happen in other people is just outstanding. And it starts with your head and your heart, and then your body follows, truly. So I look forward to seeing you again next week. I'll put my scheduler below, and send me a direct message or comment below with any takeaways that you have. Oh, Isabella, that's the struggle is so real. The struggle is so real. Working on the mind I think what's hard is the mind is like what we don't see. Isabella said, I need to work on my mind. The struggle is real. And it is so true, because the mind is like that invisible monster that sticks with us at all times. So over and over again, we can have this like tape playing in our mind, and unless it's pointed out for us, it's really hard to understand that it's there, really hard to understand how it's kind of infecting the rest of our lives. And our minds can be the most beautiful medicine when we program it correctly and when we treat it correctly. But it can also be poison that lays into how I describe my own self-sabotage. So you are so not alone, and it is a huge step to just recognize that the mind shift needs to take place. You're in a good place to know that that's the shift that you need to make. So I'll let you go with that, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye for now, friends.